Joe Russell with the front line with Joe and Joe. Once again, let us go into the breach. Jordan Peterson has a message for Americans. Will they listen? Probably not. Play the clip.
Thank you very much for the invitation and for the attention that you're drawing to this. I think the Americans, you guys can watch the collapse of a democratic country and its institutions to the north of you if you want to see how it happens, because it's happening in Canada one step at a time.
We'll be watching closely. Thank you, as always, Dr. Jordan Peterson. And
one man has turned a G7 nation into a disaster. That man is Justin Trudeau. Will America follow suit? Probably. Why? Because of political identity. People can't look outside their tribe. They're brainwashed. They're eating the spoon-fed talking points from the mainstream media. That includes Fox News. Turn off the media and look in your refrigerator. How you doing? Probably not too good. This is unacceptable news.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am no longer in Belgrade, Serbia. I have actually made it to the UK, hence why I'm in a friggin' sweater. Went from 90-degree wonderful weather to standard UK, no sun, freezing cold, you know. But I want to talk about Serbia for a minute here. And why do I want to talk about Serbia? If you think about it, during the entire pandemic, did you even hear a peep about Serbia? It was like the country never even existed. And there's a very good reason for that. And I looked into it while I was there. You know why you never heard anything about Serbia? Because the moment they tried to lock Serbia down, there were such riots in the city. It took 2 days, and this was October 2020, while we were all hiding under rocks and listening to everything the government told us to do. Well, some of us. These people who love their country, who love each other, and love their families, stood up. They just said no. And they came together in united non-compliance. And it took them 48 hours to make the government do what they wanted. There was no mask mandates. There were no lockdowns. There were no business closures. There were no travel mandates. There was none of that in Serbia. You know what else there wasn't anything of? Mass death or destruction. The only places that had mass death and destruction, both to the people and their economy, were all the ones that chose to lock down, all the ones that chose to follow mandates. Serbia stood up and just said no. And that's why you never hear about them.
Joe, where did OJ come from? I mean, I'm serious. I thought this guy was in jail. Just as a quick sports note, Joe and I are New York Jets fans. Aaron Rodgers went down the other night for the season with a torn Achilles. So goes the life of a Jet fan. However, on a brighter note, okay, the Jets got gritty. They stiffened up, and they ended up beating the Bills, who many consider to be a better team than them. They beat them in overtime on a punt return, and it was electric. It really was. I watched the game; it was electric, and we'll see what happens as far as they're concerned. But where the freak did OJ come from? Like I'm scrolling a little bit trying to find some Jet news, and here I see this guy. So let's give OJ a listen for about 20 seconds.
The Jets are still going to be good. They got that defense, and that kid learned a lot from Aaron. Unfortunately, 9/11 is just a bad date for New York, you know. You got to play. That's the problem with not playing at all before you go out on the field. That wasn't.
Now, Joe, here's again. Leave aside the New York Jets stuff, okay? I'm not really interested in OJ's comments on the New York Jets. I just found it interesting. Is like this guy's never given any sort of mea culpa, a public display of any sort of remorse. Okay, he should just go into a hole somewhere, hopefully find repentance, hopefully ask God for forgiveness. And here he is. You got him on a show. He's commenting on the New York Jets, and they're laughing with him. He decapitated his wife, for heaven's sake. He stuck Ron Goldman with about 10 stab wounds, and here he is laughing. And I'm sorry, Joe, OJ has never received justice. He's never received justice. And you know what? Okay, that's the way it worked out. But I don't have to give the guy a platform. I certainly am not going to laugh with the guy. I'm not going to go out and play golf with the guy. I'm not going to have anything to do with this guy. And here he is. He's back in the media. Joe, help me, because I don't even understand it.
What's wrong is right. What's right is wrong. Look at the people that we put up on pedestals in our country, and look at the people who are vilified. I mean, it's part. America is upside down, Joe. The culture, and that's why we're not going to vote ourselves out of it. America, even if we could like construct the best political candidate, the philosopher king, the proverbial philosopher king.
Bring back Marcus Aurelius.
he or she will be rejected by the masses. We're not interested. We're not interested in virtue. We're interested in vice. We're not interested in the good. The question would be, well, what is good? Who said that? Pilate. He killed God. We are not interested. And that's at the heart of our problem. You see, like the politics is like the head of the pimple. The pimple is deep.
Right.
It's a problem. And that's why I'll be honest with you, America is at a crossroad. Actually, I think it's past the crossroad, Joe.
I don't know if it's past. I think you're right. It's at a crossroad. I don't know that we're so far gone yet. I will say this, it's not very hopeful when you see OJ on social media. And again, Joe, what's that?
Yucking it up with people.
Right. Like, I mean, we're Catholic. We're forgiving people. We believe in mercy and forgiveness, but mercy and forgiveness has to be requested. All right. He's never asked. He's never said, I'm sorry. All right. I know that might seem like an admission of guilt, but maybe he could dress it up in some sort of way where he could express that he has regrets for the way he's lived for the last 25 years of his life. But then to give him a platform. So I agree with you. I don't agree with you that we're past the crossroads, but when I see something like this, I'm like, well, maybe Joe Resinello is right. Maybe we've gone past a little bit. Maybe we're not past the point of no return yet. But this is very discouraging.
Well, like you said, he's persona non grata. I mean, obviously these folks are, bringing him on because, he's a name and people like, it's almost like a freak show. You know what I mean? But at the same time, he should be, but this is our society. I mean, Joe, I go to New York to work. I walk down the street. I'm not a prude. I've seen a lot of things in my life. I can't believe what I see.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the city in ruins. And that's not coming from, a prudish perspective. It's just someone who has eyes. Our society
it's a statement collapsing. Of empirical fact. It's what you just said is a statement of empirical fact.
It just is. That's garbage. Oh, horrible. And this is what we want. You see, this is the thing. This as a people, we vote for this. We are interested in this. Once again, we are choosing Barabbas as opposed to Christ. Our society has chosen Barabbas again. And we know what happened as a result of that. Right. And it's going to happen again. Joe Rogan has a problem with mutilating children. You would think all people would have a problem, but they don't. Play the clip.
What scares me about it is what they're doing to children. And I know you got the fucking joke on your show about break out the dick saw. I remember you said that. I was like, Jesus, Bill, you just went hard. But I'm so glad you're doing that because there's no one else on late night television that's ever going to fucking do that other than you.
Oh yeah,
but it's terrifying that they're calling it gender affirming care when it's really childhood mutilation. Before you have the ability to figure out what permanent means, you're fucking 7 years old. You can't get your face tattooed. No. You can't go to war. You can't get married. There's reasons for all that stuff. You're too young. And this idea that you should be able to make life-changing choices like hormone blockers, right, which are, not reversible, no matter what the fuck they say. They say it's reversible. No, the changes happen to your body during puberty. And if you stop those changes, that change you can't reverse that. You're going to have a micropenis. You're taking estrogen while your body's developing. You're blocking your testosterone. If you're doing all that stuff, it's going to have an effect on your body. Now, if you're happy with that effect and you don't care, okay, but how many people aren't, and how many people are young, and how many detransitioners are there who have horrible stories? And you're a monster and a bigot if you even bring that up.
Joe Rogan has a problem with the mutilation of children and is speaking out against it. Why? Because he's not owned by corporate sponsors. And why the mainstream media has a different opinion? Because they are owned. They, as well as your politicians, are not serving you. They're serving ideology, and the only people who are suffering are the children themselves.
Angry used car salesman, failed magician in Vegas. I don't know what else I'd look at it as. But let's say one believes it would be awful, embarrassing, dangerous, numbing, stupefying, unloving of our children to elect Donald Trump president. That's not the worst news, because for that to happen, a lot of people didn't vote or give two shits, or they were too cynical, because they say those guys just want power while themselves doing nothing for the world. And so many of those guys on both sides are people of real devotion and service. Sure, one of the parties has also showed great public cowardice in a way we've never seen before, indecency. And I understand all of the kind of, and they're just as bad as, because they're, the other party is so relishing in its own wonderfulness.
He's criticizing Trump and he's going for the Trump hairdo. I'm just throwing that out there, okay? I don't know what's up with his hair, but it's definitely the same color as Trump's. Here's my thing. Do you hear the dripping condescension? There's something wrong with me if I vote for Donald Trump. But there's nothing wrong with me if I vote for the party of death. He talks about, what did he say, dignity and integrity or something like that. I don't want Sean Penn's worldview. Who does he hold up as models? Baby killers like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama? That makes us a better people, a better society, a better culture if I vote for the baby killing party?
Well, I'll be honest. I've listened to a few interviews with Sean Penn. The one that my wife and I listened together was when he went down to talk to that guy Chapo in Mexico. Do you remember that incident?
Yeah, I remember that.
Dude, it was deranged. It was deranged. Like, even the guy, I forget I think it was, who's the dude that got bounced on PBS? He started the Me Too thing.
Charlie Rose?
There you go. Even like Charlie Rose was looking at him and just like he was looking into like the abyss type of thing. He had the look on like, Sean, come back to us. Come back to us. Listen, Hollywood is completely detached from mainstream America.
They don't think so.
I know, but it is based upon the fact no one watches the Academy Awards anymore. They're completely in a different sphere of like thinking. They completely don't relate to people. Listen, ultimately, Sean Penn's opinion should mean nothing to anyone.
The fact is that he is or has a certain level of influence with like-minded people. And
he's probably arguably, Joe, the best actor in his generation. I'll give him that. He's a great actor.
I'm not going to take that away from him ever.
He's got great hair.
Wonderful hair. Wonderful hair. But that's the thing about him is just that it's that drip, like I said earlier, that dripping condescension that there's something wrong with me when I could go issue by issue by issue by issue by issue for why it's good not to vote for the Democrats and why, as an alternative, not only is it the lesser of two evils, it's actually a good thing to vote for Donald Trump.
Well, I don't buy into gaslighting anymore. In fact, when someone tries that, I immediately, if like I'm in social media in a conversation, I call them on it. And all gaslighting says to me is you have nothing significant to say. The Democratic platform, and frankly, even the Republican platform, doesn't help me. That's why I'm not voting for either. I'm voting for an outsider, and that's Donald Trump. And I want Vivek to be his running mate. And I want 8 years of Vivek afterwards because they're outsiders. I don't think the system works anymore, Sean. I don't think it works. It doesn't appeal to people. It doesn't help regular people, Democrats and Republicans, outside of our differences. I'm talking about daily living. I'm talking about having a life where we could thrive. It doesn't, maybe it works for you, Sean. You're rich. You're really rich and you give money to people. Well, guess what? I'm not. And it doesn't work for me. And I no longer will support an establishment Republican or Democrat. Ever. Never.
Right.
And there's my reason. But gaslighting, Joe, that just means you have nothing significant to say, and I immediately call people on it and move on.
Securing your data privacy is more important than ever. Start your free privacy scan and see how much of your data is being sold on the internet. Offering data breach monitoring, bulk data removal, and agency protection, DataSeal.io is the best and most affordable way to secure your data from ending up in the wrong hands. Remove your data today from the internet with DataSeal.io. That's DataSeal.io.